once had a woman, a very dear woman, and then one day, you lost her. I began to wonder if I had ever talked about her to Don Juan. I concluded there had never been an opportunity. Yet, I might have. Every time he drove with me, we had always talked incessantly about everything. I did not remember everything we had talked about because I could not take notes while driving. I felt somehow appeased by my conclusions. I told him that he was right. There had been a very important blonde girl in my life. "Why isn't she with you?" he asked. "She left." "Why?" "There are many reasons." "There were not so many reasons. There is only one. You made yourself too available." I earnestly wanted to know what he meant. He again had touched me. He seemed to be cognizant of the effect of his touch, and puckered up his lips to hide a mischievous smile. "Everyone knew about you too," he said with unshaken conviction. "Was it wrong?" "It was deadly wrong. She was a fine person." I expressed the sincere feeling that his fishing in the dark was odious to me, especially the fact that he always made his statements with the assurance of someone who had been at the scene and had seen it all. "But that's true," he said with a disarming candor. "I have seen it all. She was a fine person." I knew that it was meaningless to argue, but I was angry with him for touching that sore spot in my life, and I said that the girl in question was not such a fine person after all, and that in my opinion she was rather weak. "So are you," he said calmly, "but that is not important. What counts is that you have looked for her everywhere. That makes her a special person in your world, and for a special person, one should only have fine words." I felt embarrassed. A great sadness had begun to engulf me. "What are you doing to me, Don Juan?" I asked. "You always succeed in making me sad. Why?" "You are now indulging in sentimentality," he said accusingly. "But what is the point of all this, Don Juan?" "Being inaccessible is the point," he declared. "I brought up the memory of this person only as a means to show you directly what I could not show you with the wind. You lost her because you were accessible. You were always within her reach, and your life was a routine one." "No," I said, "you're wrong. My life was never a routine." "It was, and it is a routine," he said dogmatically. "It is an unusual routine, and that gives you the impression that it's not a routine, but I assure you it is." I wanted to sulk and get lost in moroseness, but somehow his eyes made me feel restless. They seemed to push me on and on. "The art of a hunter is to become inaccessible," he said. "In the case of that blonde girl, it would have meant that you had to become a hunter and meet her sparingly, not the way you did. You stayed with her day after day until the only feeling that remained was boredom. True?" I did not answer. I felt I did not have to. He was right. To be inaccessible means that you touch the world around you sparingly. You don't eat 5 quail, you eat 1. You don't damage the plants just to make a barbecue pit. You don't expose yourself to the power of the wind unless it is mandatory. You don't use and squeeze people until they have shriveled to nothing, especially the people you love. I have never used anyone, I said sincerely. But Don Juan maintained that I had, and thus I could bluntly state that I had become tired and bored with people. To be unavailable means that you deliberately avoid exhausting yourself and others, he continued. It means that you are not hungry and desperate like the poor bastard that feels he will never eat again and devours all the food he can, all 5 quail. Don Juan was definitely hitting me below the belt. I laughed, and that seemed to please him. He touched my back lightly. A hunter knows he will lure game into his traps over and over again, so he doesn't worry. To worry is to become accessible, unwittingly accessible. And once you worry, you cling to anything out of desperation. And once you cling, you are bound to get exhausted, or to exhaust whoever or whatever you are